Hello, everyone. Happy Webinar Wednesday to you. Thank you for everyone who is joining us. And again, I love that y'all put in where you're from. So we've got, let's see, Oklahoma, Sonoma County, Alberta, San Francisco. Fun fact, I got married in San Francisco. So hello to you. So if anyone has a minute, if you could just say audio is good. I think that you should be able to hear me. We were doing some testing, but if you can hear what I'm saying, then just give me a thumbs up. Well, I don't know if you can do emojis in the chat, but let me know that you can hear the audio whenever you get a minute. So I will say that this session will be recorded. Audio is good. Okay, thank you. So what we're going to do here is just go over some housekeeping. So we'll do questions at the end. I am joined today with Stephanie Chandler. We're going to be talking about workbooks and online courses. So if you have questions, type them in the chat. Stephanie is going to go over them at the end. And again, if you have to leave early or if you join late, the recording will be going out to everyone who registered, and we will be posting it to our YouTube channel as well. So again, as I said, I am joined today by Stephanie Chandler. We're so excited to have her. If you don't know who this fantastic human being is, Stephanie Chandler is the author of several books, including the Nonfiction Book Publishing Plan and the Nonfiction Book Marketing Plan. She's also the CEO of the Nonfiction Authors Association, which is a vibrant educational community for writers, and the Nonfiction Writers Conference, a twice-yearly event conducted entirely online since 2010. So they were doing online events before it was pandemic cool. She's a frequent speaker at business events and on the radio and has been featured in Entrepreneur, Business Week, The Writer, Writer's Digest, and Wired Magazine. All right, so if everyone's ready to go, I'm going to give Stephanie the thumbs up. She's going to share her screen, and we're going to kick this thing off. So thank you, everyone, for joining us.
All right. Hi, guys. Here we go. I'm not hearing all of you, but that's okay. We're gonna just roll with it because, you know, technology happens. I'm so happy to have you all here with us today. I'm Stephanie Chandler. This is a super fun topic for me to cover with all of you, workbooks. And I have a ton of content jammed into this presentation. So here we go. Workbooks, if you're not using them yet in your business model as an author, I cannot recommend them more. Workbooks have a higher perceived value than our standard 6x9 trade books. For some reason, even though they have less content, we're willing to pay more for them. So you might have a 6x9 business book or health book or something along those lines that you sell for $15 or $19.99, but your workbook might sell for $25, $30, $35 because for some reason we feel like we get more value from having something we can write in, apparently. So workbooks just are wonderful for bundling with your books to increase your sales. Add on for your training program. There's bulk sales opportunities, and we're going to go through all of those. Just like other books, workbooks can do really well on Amazon. They can reach the top of categories. You can create, bestsellers here. And so your workbooks can be sold through those channels, or they can be sold exclusively elsewhere. These are my early workbooks from back in early 2000s. I used Lulu to produce these workbooks, and these were my first publications. I did these before I did my regular books. That Online Marketing for Authors actually was acquired by a publisher, a traditional publisher, and turned into a 6x9 paperback. So workbooks just have endless opportunities. I love them. I've used them. I buy them as a consumer. I think they're fabulous. So let's talk about some of the revenue opportunities with workbooks. As I said, book bundles are amazing. So you can go from selling a $15 book to bundling it with your $30 workbook for a $45 sale. Or your $20 book with your $30 workbook for a $50 sale. And we love bundles, right? You know, buy this, get the bundle. Maybe you save $5. Bundles can be big sellers. My buddy Melinda Emerson, she has a downloadable workbook that goes with her book. She sells these like crazy. Speaking, if you're not speaking as an author, I really encourage you to do so. Speakers sell books. It is just a fact. And I know that in pandemic life, we're not able to speak at live events like we were before, although, you know, some are coming back. But guess what? We can do online events just like this, and you can still promote your books, sell the bundle off your website. You can pre-sell workbooks to event hosts. There's just all kinds of ways that speaking can help you sell your workbooks and your regular books. I love online training. We have a big course launching next month, and workbooks are a perfect companion for any kind of online training or in-person training. You can create workbooks, make them available to your students, pre-sell them to the event hosts. So years ago, I was asked to teach a course for one of our healthcare companies locally here in Sacramento. And they asked me to teach them copywriting, right? So I put together this course, and then I thought, you know, I should bundle in a companion workbook. And I think I charged them like $50 per workbook. And all I did was bound the slides with notes pages. And they were happy to pay that and let their students, their attendees, take those with them. So talk about a great upsell. So here's some more examples of course companions. By the way, I found these on the Lulu store. So Lulu has all kinds of workbooks because they do spiral binding. It's where I started. It's why I have such an affection for Lulu. I have a new workbook coming, the Nonfiction Book Marketing and Launch Plan. It is only going to be available to our course students starting next month, bound with Lulu. And the other way that I'm leveraging the course students for this workbook is kind of as beta readers. So I'm looking for their feedback. Maybe they'll help us catch some errors in the book or help us make it better. And then next year in 2022, it will be released to everybody. So, you know, think about ways that you could use your workbook in a course, maybe build some beta readers, your launch team, and then plan to release it at a later date. You can also sell workbooks for college courses. It was fun to find some examples in Lulu's marketplace. So I love college book sales in general. Some of my regular books have been picked up in colleges. And the great thing about that is that the books are repurchased every, you know, semester, quarter, trimester, whatever their system is on. And one thing you can offer to do is Skype in with the class, which, by the way, as an author, isn't it fun to talk to your readers? I mean, I enjoy that so much. So I recommend pitching college instructors who would use your book or your workbook as course material and offer a review copy. That is the best way to get the attention of professors. There's also, outside of colleges, there's, you know, kindergartens, preschools, there's specialty schools, music schools. So there's just all kinds of, this was a hazmat student workbook for maybe a trade school. So just the opportunities are absolutely endless for what you can do to sell your books in bulk sales opportunities. Here are some other places that might be willing to buy your books. You know, if you're familiar with the book market and traditional bookstores, one of the most frustrating things about our industry is that brick and mortar bookstores expect to be able to return unsold books. So let's say your book gets picked up by Barnes & Noble. If that book isn't selling well within 30 to 60 days, Barnes & Noble is going to ship them back in any condition, and you have to give them a full refund. So other retailers, by the way, don't work this way. If Nordstrom doesn't sell out of a line of jeans, they don't get to return them to Guess or whoever the jean maker is. They have to short sell them to Marshalls or TJ Maxx, right? But in the book industry, for whatever reason, bookstores have the ability to send books back and get a full refund. So I love non-bookstore venues. Day spas, pet rescue organizations. What if you have a book on pet care or caring for your aging dog? You could team up with your local pet rescue, and maybe you sell them the books at a discount that they in turn can sell as a fundraiser. There's just so many opportunities. Hospital gift shops, health food stores. It goes on and on and on. So get really creative with the topic of your book and see where that might get placed. And the same thing goes with corporate sponsors. The logos you see here are all corporations that I've worked with and been sponsored by personally as an author and a business expert. So corporate sponsorships can do all kinds of things. They can give your workbooks away to their staff, to their clients, to their at events. They can make it a gift with purchase. Maybe you have a workbook on how to set up your internet security at home, right? Or check that you have good, solid internet security. And you sell that workbook to Dell as a free download that they give to new customers, and you license copies of the digital edition. That's a crazy good deal because it costs you virtually nothing to do that. Or they put a physical copy of your workbook in with a product or a package. So there's just all kinds of ways that you can do this. One of my favorite opportunities with corporations is to do a special print run with their logo on your cover. You can offer to insert a letter from the sponsor. They could even write a chapter or a foreword or an introduction, or they could simply insert an advertisement in the book. So there's lots of ways to structure these deals. My friend Carl Polachek, who teaches IT businesses how to grow their businesses, does a ton of these co-branded books. And I asked him if he would share his sales page with us. So check this out. Now, this is a book, Managed Services in a Month. It's a top seller in his industry. And so he charges a $1,500 setup fee for companies to put their logo on his cover, and then sells them additional copies. Look at their price breaks here. They're not very big price breaks. You know, if they buy under 300 copies, they're still paying $20 each. If they buy more than 300, they're paying $15 each for copies with their logo on it. So, and for those of you who are self-published, you know that adding a logo to a cover and creating a new print run isn't a big deal at all, especially with Lulu, because they make it so easy. So, you know, this is something Carl does every month with various sponsors and has a significant revenue stream because of it. So my question to you is, who wants to reach your audience? If you have a book for maybe for women, you might go to Dove. If you have a book for animals, you go to Purina. Or you have a book about health, you go to Sutter Health. Banks are notorious for loving to work with local sponsor opportunities. So you could do a workshop at your local bank, and they will pay you to come in and give copies of your workbook to attendees. You know, talk to your local credit unions, even the big name banks like Wells Fargo and Chase. Their local branches have the authority to hold events and things like that. And this might be something that happens more in a post-pandemic world, and I believe we will get there someday. But the fact is, the opportunities here with corporate sponsors are huge and they're highly profitable. There's also trade associations, right? So what associations would be interested in your topic? There is an association for just about anything, right? From the Association of Architects to the Rigid Plastics Packaging Manufacturers Association, where I spoke several years ago and taught them social media. They're the ones that make that clamshell packaging that drives us all crazy. They have their own association. So an association exists for almost anything you can think of. And if you have a workbook or a product that is a good fit for their audience, you can target these associations. Associations have budgets for things like this. This is Donna Hartley. She's an amazing human being. She's a keynote speaker who survived that DC-10 plane crash you're looking there in the 80s. She also survived a collapsed heart valve and stage 3 cancer. So she's a 3-time survivor, and she's written a series of memoirs. So for those of you who are writing memoirs, yes, this can work for you too. And what Donna does is she has her books, and then she has companion workbooks that she sells digitally and also in physical form. And she does a lot with the Go Red Foundation, which is women's heart health. They pay her to come speak at their events, and she's able to sell her workbooks and her books and her companion products to the attendees of the events and get paid to speak at those events. So don't overlook nonprofits, because they're ready for you and they're looking for opportunities like this. Also, spiritual centers, houses of worship, things like that. That's a great place to pitch your workbooks. Some of them have workshops for, of course, for, Bible study, or they have relationship workshops, or overcoming mental health issues and things like that. They're there to serve their congregations. And you might have a workbook that meets that need. A lot of them have in-house bookstores, and they also welcome events. And today, one good thing I believe has come out of this pandemic is we're doing more of these online events. I love them. I can do them from home, and so can you. So you can offer to do an online event with a trade association, a corporate sponsor, or a house of worship of some sort. And you can have them ship copies of your workbook to attendees, or just have a sales page where attendees can order your workbook, or give them the digital edition of the workbook. And let me actually mention one more thing here. The Unity churches, they're a non-denominational church across the country. They welcome speakers, by the way. They will host workshops and let you sell your books and allow you to charge admission and split the profits with you. So again, post-pandemic world, we might see more of that, but you can still offer to host online events. And so here's some more examples for nonprofits. You might have codependency. They're helping people with addiction recovery. They tend to have all kinds of charitable purposes that your workbook may fit into. All right, so let's talk about creating your workbook content. This is a fun exercise, I think, because I am a content creator. I love creating content. And the cool thing about workbooks, there really are no rules. You can decide. Your workbook could be 30 pages. It could be 300 pages. You can include space for writing in the workbook. You can create a digital edition and the physical edition. As I mentioned before, I did a slide deck and sold that to a healthcare company at $50 a copy, and they were happy to pay for it. That was kind of amazing. So there's really no rules. But what you want to do to come up with your content, start with your main book and go through it and look at it from the perspective of the reader. Are there questions that it evokes? How can you help readers go deeper with your content? What exercises make sense? Can you prompt them to make lists or brainstorm ideas? There's just endless opportunities there. And maybe you already have some exercises in your book, and you can expand on that to create a workbook. This helped me quite a bit. So you could also use any training programs that you have, or slide decks. And so the workbook I showed you, I'm created for this course that I'm teaching. The course is a 6-week course. It's got huge PowerPoint decks. And I started going through the decks and realizing, oh, there's a question I could ask here, or, oh, here's a brainstorm, or here's a checklist I can create. And it helped so much in creating that workbook. The workbook ended up being massive, and it wasn't my intention, but it was because the presentations really helped me flesh out the content. It ended up being 275 pages of content. And there's no blank pages. These are all exercises, checklists, questions, things like that. So maybe you create a slide deck, and that helps you think differently about what your audience wants to work with in a workbook. If you do any kind of coaching or consulting, I think workbooks are amazing. Who wouldn't want to work with a consultant or a coach that also has a workbook that gives you homework each week or each month, or however frequently you're meeting? I think this is brilliant. Or a therapist, right? We have lots of therapists in our nonfiction author community. What if you had a workbook for your clients to help them work on their own time as well as meeting with you? What a great value add. And I like to think about, like, if you're going out to hire a personal trainer, for example, and most personal trainers kind of, I'll take you through your program. We'll do it for an hour, every other day, or whatever their program is. What if you have a personal trainer who says, yeah, and you can also have my workbook, and it's going to help you, in between our visits, get through, your weight loss goals or your toning goals or whatever they are. That's a pretty impressive personal trainer or financial advisor or consultant or therapist, right? It helps you stand out against the competition when you have something really comprehensive. All right, so formatting all of your content, you want to think about, are you going to have Q&A? So you might have little boxes where they answer the questions, or you might have lines where they fill it in. I love questions. Ask them. Let the reader come up with their own answers. Make it really interactive. That's what distinguishes a workbook from a regular book, is that it's interactive. Lists and action items. Can you create tasks for them to complete and help them set goals and create accountability? Target completion date and then the actual date completed. Help them get organized with their content. I think we can all benefit from a little accountability, right? Procrastination. And we are all familiar with the procrastination. So I am a big goal setter. I like to set myself target goal dates and then hit those goals. And you can do that within your workbooks. Checklists are amazing. So again, as a content creator, I love checklists. I use them in my daily life, personally, to stay organized. And there's also a lot of satisfaction in checking off something on your to-do list or your action list. So can you create checklists in your workbook that help the reader move forward with whatever the goal is for the outcome? And by the way, goals. The workbooks are about goals. What is it that you want your reader to accomplish by using your workbook? So you might have them describe their goal, set a date for completion. There's other ways to track goals. So I love goal trackers. Like I said, I'm kind of a goals nerd. This is kind of my secret to success, by the way. I'm just a huge planner and goal setter. So you might have a daily action tracker or some sort of daily report or journaling that people do as they're going through your process. Charts and graphs are really fun. Mine are pretty simple. Charts and graphs aren't my greatest strength, but that's what graphic designers are for, and they can help you turn your concepts into charts and graphs. Drawings and doodles. Bullet journaling is a big thing right now, and bullet journaling is basically artistic journaling where you sit down with a stack of colorful pens. And some people aren't wordsmiths, like many of us writers prefer to write, but some people prefer to draw or sketch or doodle. So that could be part of the process. You might make it some fun and have some, word games in there, or just something that gets people outside of their box and uses their creativity a little bit. Schedules, again, that procrastination and that goal. How do you want to help them reach their goal? Should they be scheduling out their plan to hit their goals? You can provide those and get some really great graphic design going. Or, by the way, you can use Canva, Canva. Canva.com has all kinds of do-it-yourself graphic design tools. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, that's an option. I like to hire the pros because I'm not a big do-it-yourselfer in the graphic design department, but I learned my lessons the hard way. I'm going to show you that. Quizzes are another fun thing to add to your workbook. So maybe the workbook, if it's a companion to your primary book, maybe you have quizzes at the end of each chapter that help them retain what they've just learned in your book or within the workbook itself. You can also include in your workbook resources, maybe lists of websites or tools or apps or books that you recommend for your reader. Why not give them more value? You don't have to be the sole source of all the answers. I'm a big believer in abundance. There's plenty of business to go around. Why wouldn't I provide my readers with other resources that will help them, especially if it comes from our community and sources that I trust? And then, supporting text. You might be writing out descriptions of things or a couple of page overview, and then you go into an exercise or worksheet. And of course, you want to create fun, make them graphically pleasing and things like that. Again, you could use Canva, or you can leave it to the pros like I now do. And I love workbooks for email list building. So not only could you maybe give away a sample of some of your workbook pages, but within the workbook itself, you could say, download these checklists at this link, and then you click the email address and they can download printable versions of a checklist or worksheets from within your workbook as an added value. So it's a win-win. You're creating more value for the reader, and the reader is sharing their email address with you, and then you can build your email list that way. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I have this workbook. It's in production right now, and it's going to be used in the course I'm teaching next month. And so I'm really looking forward to having the students in the course help be beta readers for this first iteration of this massive 275-page workbook. I want their feedback. I want to know if the exercises are helpful. Did we miss anything? Should something be added? Is it too much? Should things be trimmed down? So I look forward to doing that. And then eventually the workbook will be made publicly available. And within your workbook, you can certainly mention services, products that you have for sale. You've got a captive readership. And if you're providing value, they want to know, what else do you offer? Can I hire you as my coach or my therapist? Or can I hire your services to help me? And then you've got your workbook production. So you're going to create your workbook. You're going to have it published. Just like your regular books, you need editing, you need professional cover design and typesetting. You need to write a really compelling description for the jacket. And so here's my example of why I don't believe you should create your own covers, because I did this early on, and look at the difference. I mean, my covers were kind of hideously ugly. And as I said, that online marketing for authors got acquired by a publisher. I don't love their cover, but it's certainly better than the cover I created. So I'm such a fan of hiring the professionals to do what they do best. That's how we put our best foot forward. For your workbook size options, 8.5 by 11 is kind of the standard, but you could make it smaller. You can spiral bind it with Lulu. Lulu is the only company I know of that offers print on demand spiral binding. So you can sell one copy at a time. You can also drop ship copies to your buyers, or they can order a copy from your Lulu store and it drop ships to them. Or you can get their Shopify app integration and sell them directly off your website. So I love Lulu for these spiral binding. It's just an absolutely incredible opportunity to create new products. And you can also perfect bind them and put them up on Amazon. Amazon will not take a direct distribution of a spiral bound product. And by the way, libraries don't love spiral binding. They want a CS spine. Do both, right? So you can do a spiral bound version and you can do a perfect bound version. There's nothing that says you can't. That's the beauty of self-publishing. We have lots of opportunities. So I definitely recommend checking out Lulu for their spiral binding. As I said, I was one of the earliest users of their spiral binding. I'm still using it today. I think it's an amazing and very affordable service. And then with your marketing for your workbook, just like your other books, you want to plan a launch. You want to get your beta readers involved. You want to give away some sample pages so people get a taste. You know, I'm a huge fan of let people know what they're getting. If you go to the mall and the cookie store is handing out samples, they're giving you a free taste so that you'll go in and buy cookies. Same thing with your workbook. Give them a few pages and give them that taste so that they want to go in and buy the whole workbook. So action items for you: brainstorm your potential workbook topics and then set a goal to start creating your workbook. And then I really hope that you will think about who are your bulk sales opportunities. Could you work with corporations, or could you work with nonprofits or houses of worship? Or would your workbook sell well in day spas or the local grocery stores or health food stores? It just goes on and on and on. What are the opportunities? And then plan a big launch just like you would with your regular book. So I mentioned a few times that we have a course starting September 16th, the Book Marketing Master Course and Professional Certification. I'm beyond excited about this course. It's a 6-week course. For authors, you will learn step-by-step how to build your platform and launch a book. And then the certification is meant for book marketing professionals. So if you're a consultant or a coach or a virtual assistant, you can get certified. We're going to list you in our database at nonfictionauthorsAssociation.com, drive business to you, because there's nothing in our industry that is creating standards for book marketing. And it was time. So the Nonfiction Authors Association has created that. We're really excited. The course is filling up really fast. So we'd love to have you. You can find it on the homepage at nonfictionauthorsassociation.com. And I would love to take your questions. So I'm going to stop sharing. I still have no audio, but I do believe I have the ability to see your questions in chat. So I am going to do that. I know I went through that super fast. So thank you for your notes, by the way. Pam's excited about Lulu printing spiral books. I couldn't agree more. And I don't know anyone else that does that on a print on demand. We've got a Team Lulu ticket. I am not a paid spokesperson for Lulu. We do have a relationship, a partner relationship, but I'm truly a huge Lulu fan. Let's see. So many ideas. We could include publications and programs for our strategic alliance partners. Yes, Charles. And affiliates in the resources section. That will help us attract more content creators. Really good suggestion. And yeah, I'm happy to share these slides. I'll send them to Chelsea so she can send them out to you. Can you create workbooks in Canva, or is it just for creating certain pages? I believe you can create all of your pages in Canva. I'm not a big Canva user myself, but my assistant is, and she's created all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I absolutely believe you could format all of your pages. Does Lulu provide the software or Canva? So you would use Canva to create your pages and then format your pages according to Lulu's specifications for printing. Yeah, and word processors, pages on Mac will make nice looking boxes and things like that. Absolutely. Yes, we're going to give you the slides. If your screen was freezing, it might have been a local internet connection. More about licensing. So licensing, content licensing, again, it's kind of a wide open field. So you can make your workbook or your regular books available for digital download with companies that want to maybe give it away to their clients and things like that. So when it comes to licensing, it's kind of tricky because there are no hard and fast rules. But basically, you decide what you're going to charge per copy. So let's say that a corporation wants to license your 100-page workbook and give it to their customers for free download. What you would do is create a licensing agreement for a certain number of copies. So maybe you create it for 500 copies, and your digital edition normally sells for $10, but you're going to discount it to $6 for them, and you sell them 500 copies at $6, and they have to keep track of the number of downloads and report back to you so that there's some accountability going on. But these licensing agreements happen all the time. They're legitimate, and you can decide how you want to set that up. And the great thing about digital content is it costs you almost nothing, right, to create these agreements. So you have a lot of flexibility. I mean, you could make it $8 a copy. You can make it $3 a copy. Either way, you're still making a profit, and you're getting visibility with that organization's audience. So I love a licensing agreement. Okay. When you sell at grocery store or gift shops, should you provide a stand or advertisement? Wonderful question, Sylvia. So by the way, I'm a former bookstore owner, and we had authors, local authors coming in almost every day with their books. I loved the ones that came in with a stand already ready to go. And you can get cardboard book stands very inexpensively. I think Uline, the letter U, L-I-N-E, Uline is a good source. There's library supply houses. So, you know, for $1 or whatever it costs to get these cardboard stands, those absolutely will make your book stand out on a shelf. So I think that's a brilliant suggestion, Sylvia. Activity book works really well when pitching to professors too, because they want some ready-made assignments for their class. Yes, George, excellent points. Lulu has great pricing for spiral binding, Tara. That I completely agree. Tomorrow, my book and workbook go live on Amazon. Congratulations, Rick. I priced my workbook lower than my book. Oh, and I'm all ears. We'll be discussing what time of premium you should charge between your book and workbook. I actually think you flipped that around, Rick. I would charge a premium for the workbook because for whatever reason, we do have a higher perceived value for workbooks. I've got a stack of them sitting on my desk, and I don't think any of them is less than $20, $25. So you might change that. It's not easy to change the physical price on a book. If you're going on Amazon, they require that it's built into the barcode. So you might replace that cover and update that price. But I would recommend flipping that personally. Martin, what platform are you using for your online training? I asked because that's our main business, hosting online courses. I'm interested in adding workbooks to our online courses. That's great, Martin. We are just rolling out WP courseware, and we primarily chose that because it integrates with Wishlist Member, which is the membership software that we use to manage our membership for Nonfiction Authors Association. So it was well reviewed, really good. But I have been recommending Kajabi and Teachable to a lot of people asking about online training because those are kind of all-in-one online training platforms. Why will people pay more for a workbook than an actual book? Catherine, I wish I knew the exact answer to that question. I just think there's some psychology behind it. The other thing that we know about nonfiction books in general is people don't buy based on price. They buy based on interest in the topic. And Mark Coker, who owns Smashwords, did some research on this because they do a ton of ebook distribution, and they find that fiction books like romance, mystery, things that are consumed in high volume, those readers are very price sensitive. They want lower prices because they're going through so many books. Nonfiction, not so price sensitive. So I absolutely feel like you should charge a premium for the content that you're making available, but you of course still want to be in line with your competition. If your competition are all in the $20 to $30 range, you don't want to be in the $50 range. However, by the way, there are $50 workbooks. My friend Carl, who I showed you with his logos on the cover, he had a data manual for IT companies that he charged $299 for and sold that for years. There was nothing else available. So, that's supply and demand, right? And it was a highly technical manual. So thank you all for these great questions. How to decide which is best, worksheets right in the book or a separate workbook? Would people be more likely to pirate a workbook or use it than within this book itself? Salian, I believe is your name. That's a really interesting question. I don't spend a lot of time worrying about piracy. I mean, it certainly can be an issue. If it happens outside in other countries, a lot of times we have very little control over that. And my philosophy is if people are going to pirate the book and then other people are going to buy it from those sites, those aren't my ideal readers to begin with, because I would never buy from a site like that. So I don't know that I would say the likelihood of them being pirated is higher. And if you've done any reading of Seth Godin, one of my favorite marketing writers, he's a big believer of give your content away. If it gets shared, if your digital workbook gets, forwarded on to a couple of friends, somebody can go to the library and get your book for free or borrow a copy from a friend. So I'm all for if my content gets shared, that's okay because I have just acquired a new audience. And it's all the more reason to have links within your workbook or your books that say, come get these free downloads so that you're capturing the email and building a relationship with your audience is really so important. Okay. Oh, those are all audio questions. All right. Did we get everything? Let me go back up to the top here. Workbook and consultation combinations. Charge more for workbook as it includes a consultation. That's Blonde Dance. Great question. Yeah, why not make that a bundle? A friend of mine just last night went for a consultation with a local nutritionist last night. And she called me afterward and she said he wants $600 for the intake. And it includes a workbook and some paperwork and that's his intake process. So heck yeah, it adds value to whatever it is you're selling. Doris says, when working with copyright, do we do this on our own or work with Lulu? Copyright protection, you do yourself through copyright.gov. It's really easy. You upload the digital edition. I think the 35 or 45 bucks right now to register the copyright. I meant more about friends making copies of their friends' workbook. I'm not sure I understand that question. Can you please repeat that? Should the workbook covers be the exact cover with only the words companion workbook? Felicia, I don't think it has to be. I think it's good if it's similar, so you create some cohesive branding. But no, it doesn't need to be exactly the same. In fact, I would suggest it needs to be somewhat different so that it stands out from the book, but they need to have a cohesive look and feel for sure. Robin says, CourseCraft is an easy one for beginner courses. That's a great tip, Robin. Thank you. What about Podia as a course platform? Do you have any knowledge or experience with that platform? I've heard of Podia. I have not personally used it, so I really can't speak to that. You know, there's so many course platforms now, it's almost completely overwhelming. So I would say ask for recommendations, but I have heard really good things about Kajabi and Teachable. Kajabi is probably one of the more expensive platforms. I think Teachable is a little bit less. Can you point us towards samples of others' workbooks so we can see a range of possibilities? Mac, I would say look to Lulu's database. I was on there when I was creating this presentation, found all kinds of workbook examples. Just search the word workbook and you're going to find all kinds of examples there. Craig says, hello, I live in Mexico. Lulu saved my life. The mental health workbook I authored has sold about 10,000 copies in 10 languages. Craig, that's incredible. But something happened to me, brain injury, and I live in Mexico starting over. I wonder if there's someone who can assist me because I have a very desirable product, but I'm a bit hurt. Thanks in advance. Craig, I'll let the Lulu team follow up on you, but selling 10,000 copies in 10 languages of any book or product is an incredible thing. And the fact that it's a mental health is amazing. Bravo to you. Which platform give you an outline to write my first book? Some people like, I don't use software, and I'm totally drawing a blank on the name of the software, but there is software for book outlining. I use Word. I use the old storyboard method, and this is a great tip. Take a stack of 3x5 cards or sticky notes, write down every topic you want to cover on an individual card. And then I lay them out on the floor, and then, I'll take up the whole living room and I'll start putting them in order. And that's how I start to form my chapters. I see the logical flow, and maybe one chapter is looking too big, so I need to split it up. And I will spend a couple of days doing this process. And then once everything's in order and the chapters look cohesive, that gets copied into my outline. And that process has worked really well for me for many, many years. Rick says, hi, Stephanie. In November 2020, I attended my virtual conference. Thanks in part to you and the folks on your agenda. I finished my book and workbook tomorrow. Oh, that's tomorrow you're launching, Rick. That's amazing, Rick. Thank you so much. We do run a nonfiction writers conference online twice a year, May and November. So thank you for mentioning that, Rick. I love hearing how valuable it was for you. That's nonfictionwritersconference.com if anyone else is interested. Susan, yes, I believe Chelsea will send a copy of these slides out. And registration for the course, if you go to nonfictionauthorsAssociation.com, you'll see the course on the homepage or either under upcoming events. The link is really long. I don't trust the shortened link. So just go to nonfictionauthorsAssociation.com. You'll find the book marketing master course. We're so excited about that. Roy posted the bit.ly link. Thank you, Roy. bit.ly/marketing master course. That is case sensitive, by the way, all lowercase. Regarding spiral versus perfect binding, Martin says, I have to order a copy of each from Lulu before I can make them available to the public, correct? I can't just do one set of content with two different bindings. They're seen as separate ISBNs is what I had understood. Yeah, Martin, anytime you create a different version of a book, whether it's your hardcover, a spiral bound, a paperback, an audiobook, you need a different ISBN. And I absolutely advocate ordering a proof copy of any book that you upload and publish on Lulu or any platform, because you want to make sure it looks the way you expected it to look and it comes off the press looking the way you want it. So I absolutely recommend that. Gaurav says, how do we sell workbooks on Amazon, which might have a lot of empty spaces? So that's a good question, because Amazon has been cracking down on blank books. People have been selling blank books, which is despicable, quite frankly. And Amazon and some of the other self-publishing services are limiting the amount of blank pages that you can have in a book. So if you're calling it a journal and it's full of blank pages, you're probably going to have to make your case with the printer and possibly with Amazon. But you just have to prove that you're legitimate and that it's real content. I would never advocate creating a $30 workbook and filling it with nothing but blank pages. I mean, there needs to be substantive content in there, but with some pages to do the work. Can you point us towards places where we can peruse good existing? Oh, we did that. That's on Lulu's marketplace. You can find workbooks. Just search the word workbook. Okay, did I get through? Let me go back to the top. This Q&A is a little bit funky, but only if the binding is different. It seemed a bit of an overkill. Gaurav says, your session has opened up a new world of possibilities. Oh, I'm so glad. That's great to hear. When you say perfect binding, I think that's a regular paperback binding with a spine. Tina, yes, that's correct. That's what perfect binding is, just the regular paperback book with binding. Jenny, I believe they are sending out recordings. Good to see you here. I know Jenny, nice to see you. So there should be a recording, a replay, and a copy of the slides. I think I got everything. Oh, Scrivener. Thank you, Michelle. Scrivener is the software you can use to create your outline and write your book. I don't use software for that, but a lot of people love Scrivener. And thank you both, Judy and Michelle, for saying that, because I totally went blank on what that was. Martin says, since we're recommending course platforms, check out LAMP Consortium, lampschools.org, a group of organizations and individuals that share a platform for online learning, the same one used by Duke and Columbia and NYU, but it's affordable because we share it. Very cool tip, Martin. Thank you. Very cool. My book is on manners, Donald says, for mainly early career professionals, but others are interested. Should I do different workbooks for different audiences, or how to merge audiences? Oh, Donald, I love this question. So I would say many of us authors have different audiences, different interests in writing for different audiences. And I will say it is difficult to cross into new genres where you don't already have some sort of presence. So if you have a good marketing system for different audiences, then why not make tweaks to the workbook for that specific audience? I don't see anything wrong with that. But just know that when you merge or enter into new genres, it can be tricky. You might confuse people who come to your website, or maybe your website needs to have a map of, this is for dog trainers, this is for parents, this is for, business professionals, whoever your audience is. Help keep them from being confused. But the best way is if you can merge them together. That's always the best way to address that. I started out doing small business. So I wrote small business books. I had a website for small business owners. I give a lot of small business marketing advice. And that's how I had corporate sponsors and a bunch of other opportunities. And what was happening was authors were coming to me saying, business book authors were saying, how do I get my book done? And I just have, I love everything publishing, right? I love words. I love books. I'm an avid reader, and I was already publishing my own books. So that's how I made the foray into publishing. And for a while I was straddling the small business audience and the publishing audience, and it was too much to manage. So eventually I just invited the business audience to follow me over to publishing, and many did. Some of them may be on this call today. And those who weren't interested in publishing, that's fine, because I shifted my focus entirely and have never regretted that decision, because this is where my heart is. It's in publishing. I believe books make a difference in the world. And the fact that I get to help people reach more readers is incredibly rewarding. Michelle says, Thinkific has an excellent free version for offering courses. Thinkific is another one I've heard great things about, Michelle. Thank you for recommending that. When you're using a pen name, do I use my real name on the copyright page? That's a tricky one. No, you would use your pen name. And I believe when you register the copyright, you can make that distinction in your formal registration with copyright.gov. Catherine says, do you need an ISBN for a workbook? You need an ISBN if it's going to be distributed through retail. So if you're planning to distribute it to Amazon or brick and mortar stores or even the grocery store, they want an ISBN and a barcode on there. If you're not going to do that for general distribution, you probably don't need it. My theory is put an ISBN on everything. It keeps your work alive for all eternity, and it's just a smart practice in publishing. Andrea says, I'm not familiar with Lulu. If I have them format my workbook into a spiral bound book, can't sell it on Amazon. Can I sell it on Lulu if I'm selling the ebook version on Amazon? Yeah, this is one of the things I love about Lulu. You can use as many platforms as you want, and Lulu it works right in with all of that. So, and you can, by the way, you can distribute your spiral bound workbooks yourself through Amazon, through their reseller program. But yes, you can have the ebook version on Amazon, the spiral bound version with Lulu. They're really wonderful about allowing you to have all kinds of cross platform selling. They allow us to truly be independent authors. Beth says, creating a title for your workbook, should it be the same as the book, or is there benefit to creating a more specific title? Great question, Beth. Again, we want to think about branding. So I think it should be similar to the main book. It doesn't need to be exact, but you don't want to lose your audience. You want them to be able to recognize that it's a companion to the main book if that's the case. So you want them to be pretty similar and look and feel pretty similar. Maeve says, is it okay if workbook content almost exactly matches content in a course? Heck yeah, I would say that's a benefit, right? Because like you're all listening to me right now. Are you going to retain 100% of what I've said today? Absolutely not. That's why you want the replay, right? So students in a course, I don't know what the statistics are. We retain like 5 to 10% of what we hear. So the workbook can help solidify the learning of the content. It's a huge value add for students in a course. So why not have it match the course delivery? I think that's great. And by the way, this goes with my philosophy of give away your best content. So let's say you're a consultant and you're writing a book about how to do whatever process it is that you teach. Don't be afraid to tell all your secrets, because I think a lot of people have this fear that, well, then they won't hire me as a consultant because I've told them how to do it. But guess what? Most people still want help implementing the process, right? So your customers are still going to come to you. They're going to be wowed by the fact that you shared all this content, and they're going to come looking for you for support and helping to implement that content. All right. What about workbook and consultation? Okay, we covered that. Combinations. Okay, I think we got all that. I'm going to scroll back up. Can you create a spiral bound on Lulu and sell the spiral bound book on Amazon? Yes, you can, Anita. You can't automatically distribute it to Amazon, but you would have to create an Amazon reseller account and handle your own distribution. Amazon just won't accept spiral binding automatically through their POD process. Amazon, you know, I'm going to say personally, I have a love-hate relationship with Amazon as an author and a publisher, and in this industry, I think they make things really far more difficult than they need to be. David says, I always use MS Word, and when I want to create a magazine of the content or part of it, I use PowerPoint. That's another great tip, David. PowerPoint is a place where you can create graphics. You don't think of it for graphics, but it's where you create your slides, and it's really easy to drag and drop things around PowerPoint. Thank you, Barbara, for the kind words. Corinne says, I do live and virtual workshops and offer sheets for attendees to work on. I'm almost done with my book. When is the best time to create a workbook? I also have a corporate sponsor interested. Should I focus on the workbook now versus finishing the book? Oh, Corinne, that's such a tricky one when you've already got one in process. You know, I can't answer that across the board. I think that really depends on your unique situation. If you have a corporate sponsor interested in the workbook, particularly, yeah, you might accelerate that because you don't want that opportunity to go away. And if you've already got these worksheets created, maybe you can put together the workbook fairly quickly. You know, again, workbooks have far less content than their companion print books typically. So I find they're easier to create. And if you have active opportunities looking for a workbook, personally, I would probably move that up the priority list. But if you have an active audience waiting for that book, you really just have to decide which is more important and how quickly can you get the other one completed. There's nothing wrong with launching the regular book first and then following it with a workbook in a couple of months when you're able to get that put together. Felicia says, Amazon put my book on a page with products instead of books. I tried to get them to change it, but it never happened. I have a friend who purchased my books on Amazon, but I never received any money from them. I'm not sure if they're good. Oh my goodness, Felicia, you need to contact Amazon support. They're lousy, but contact them and talk to them about that. Your friend may have purchased your book from maybe a third-party reseller, which means, and third parties on Amazon, you see the used book marketplace. A lot of those are third-party distributors that will list your book or your product for sale. And if a purchase is made, they will drop ship it from your distributor, which might be Lulu or it might be another distributor. But you're still getting paid on those sales. So you definitely need to contact Amazon about that. I gotta believe they're not denying author payments. They have pretty massive accounting practices that they can't be stealing money from us. So I would definitely contact them directly. Oh, thank you for the kind words, fellow Stephanie C. So glad that you're all finding this helpful. What did I say about selling workbooks on Amazon, Barbara? You can distribute them directly if you want to. Does Lulu market through Amazon and Kindle, etc.? Lulu does have distribution for the perfect bound, the non-spiral bound books through Amazon. So it's just that Amazon doesn't allow direct distribution of spiral bound books. It's not Lulu, it's Amazon. Maeve says, is it okay if the content of your workbook is pretty much the same as the course you create? All right, we addressed that. I think I got everything. I hope I got everything right at the top of the hour. I wish I could see all your smiling faces. I enjoyed this so much. I'd love to see you at our course. You can see that over at nonfictionauthorsAssociation.com. I want to see your workbooks. Reach out, let me know. Check out our community. We'd love to have you. And I thank you all so much for spending this time with me today. This is my joy. I love teaching, and I'd love to have you in our course as well. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Chelsea, for hosting. And you're amazing. And this is just, you guys, this is my favorite thing to do. I love teaching. So thank you so much. I still can't hear you, Chelsea, but you're amazing. Thank you.
Well, Stephanie did amazing, and she can't hear me. Such a trooper for coming out here and giving such great information. Anytime we have her, she's just a wealth of knowledge. Follow her, find her, Nonfiction Authors Association. They have a great conference, a great course coming up as well. So again, round of applause. Thank you, Stephanie. We appreciate it. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday wherever you are, and catch us again next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.